What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today we have a new deck list for you guys. It's a character that I really like. It's one of my favorite in all of Star Wars. But before we get into all of that, I want to thank everyone for the support lately. It's been greatly appreciative as always. And then also going further, we're going to be doing the normal stuff, right? Deck lists and stuff like that, tier lists. But also I'm going to be recording back up with Matt. So get excited for that. We're going to be having the matchup videos coming back. And then also with the launch of the game coming in a couple of weeks, we're going to have pack openings and all that good stuff. So if you are new to the channel and you're excited for the game's launch, make sure you hit that sub button because I'm going to bring you a ton of content. And then also, we did hold an event at the store that I work at, and it was pretty awesome. The thing is, I got a couple matches that are live. I've got to get the feedback from you guys. Do you guys want to see those? They are using demo decks, so they're not like the full-on decks. I will bring you guys those matchups if you guys would like. But if you'd rather me wait till we have the full game launch, and then we have all of the cards and better decks, not just demo decks, I will wait until that because I will be bringing you guys live matchups as well as tabletop matchups with Matt when the game launches, and I just want to get you guys feedback on that. But without further ado, let's talk about the deck list we have for you guys today. We have Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, Grand Admiral Thrawn is one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. He is a very unique character. He's very intimidating. He's always one step ahead of his opponents, and that's why I think that the way that Fantasy Flight made this character is spot on. So his leader ability is when the action phase starts, look at the top card of each player's deck. So this kind of goes in with Thrawn. He knows what his opponents are planning. He's one step ahead of everybody. He knows what he needs to do and what his opponent needs to do. So he gets to get a quick look at his hand or his top of his deck and the opponent's top of the deck, and it's pretty awesome. And then for an action and the cost of 1, suspend him, right? Exhaust him. Reveal the top card of any player's deck, exhaust a unit that costs the same as or less than that revealed card. So he's able to slow down his opponent, make it so his untapped units get suspended, and it's a very fun way to play the deck. He's a very control-y character. He's trying to slow down his opponent long enough to be able to get his perfect board up, I would say, right? So he's always one step ahead. He's just slowing down his opponent as much as possible. It could be an annoying deck to play up against because if you're just constantly being exhausted, all your units, there's going to be a ton of cards in this deck that focuses around that control-y aspect of play. But it's a fun deck for a lot of people because they do play this style. And again, Thrawn is one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, so I had to kind of come up with this deck because I've been doing all command and aggression decks so far, if you guys haven't noticed. So I want to do a vigilance deck next, and then we'll continue on trying to get all the leaders a deck list up on the channel, and then I'll kind of spice it up as we continue, right? But epic action, if you control 6 or more resources, you get to deploy this leader. So from there, his leader unit ability is when the action phase starts, look at the top card, it's the same thing. And then he gets to do his action when he attacks. He may reveal the top card of any player, exhaust a card with equal or less cost of that card that you saw, right? So again, after he is a leader unit, he is able to go off and do that on attacks rather than for an action and a cost. So it makes it a little bit cheaper. And again, another way to just slow down your opponents. He's again, a very fun deck, very control-y. You have to understand, you have to think a lot, in my opinion, when you play this deck. So just have to pay attention to what's going on. You have to remember what cards you're seeing off your opponent's deck, because there are cards that kind of feed off of that, and we'll go over those as we get there. But again, a very fun character, a very control-y character. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the base. Normally, I play the 25 base with the epic actions, but right now I'm just playing Capital City. You can play Dagobah Swamp if you want to just switch it up in that way. I want the 30 HP base because I want to be able to have more HP to give me more time to survive as I'm controlling. I could have played Security Complex to give a shield to something, but that's just not what I'm trying to do with this deck. Right now, I'm just trying to control the game and live as long as possible to put me in the best position to take over the game at some point, right? So we're going Capital City, and yeah, that's Grand Admiral Thrawn. We're doing, as you can see, Vigilance Cunning deck, and we can go right into the ground units as we always start. And then, as you guys know, we go over the deck list. we go over cards that you can add, and then we do a little bit of a demo. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the ground units here. And as you can see, the way that I play this deck, we play very little ground units. So you're going to see why in a little bit, but we are heavy in space with Thrawn. He's just, I think that that's the best way to do him, because a lot of the decks are heavy ground units, or more so on the ground than other decks, right? Like the aggro decks, they all are on ground for the most part. You have a lot of ground centric decks, and I think that the best way that you're going to get this deck to work out is if you run it with more space units than ground units. But with that being said, let's go ahead. We have the regional governor. The reason that she works so well with Thrawn is because when played, name a card. While this unit is in play, opponents can't play that named card. So you're using Thrawn's ability. You're going to know something in your opponent's hand, and if you see something, just name it, and as long as it stays on the board, they can't play that card. So this works really well with Thrawn, obviously. But the thing is that like this is like the one card I would maybe think about having the shield base up for, but it's not worth it because just one unit, because you want this thing to stay on the board. Really, I use it kind of mid to late game when overwhelming barrage, if I know my opponent has that in the hand, or like ways that they can take out or suspend my units. I'll use it that like to kind of get around those things. Or if they have a big unit in their hand and it's late game, I can put this down so they can't put that like 8 cost unit down, right? But you know, it's a good card with especially with Thrawn. Going into our next ground unit, we have Count Dooku. I only play 2 of the Count Dooku. He comes in shielded. When played, you may defeat a unit of 4 or less remaining HP. This is just kind of a way to get rid of something on the ground if their ground area is getting too overwhelming and you can't suspend as much as possible. So I played it out of 2 of because, you know, it's a 7 cost and we're not going to be playing too many of them. But Count Dooku in a pickle can come in clutch. And then we play 2 AT-AT suppressors. I might actually raise this up to 3 because this card is very good. This kind of saves you late game. It has saved me plenty of times. You're most likely going to see me up this to 3 and lower something else down to maybe 2. Maybe Regional Governor goes down to 2 and I play AT-AT suppressor to 3 because this card is very good late game. And I definitely recommend you put this in this deck no matter what, if you're playing Vigilance with Admiral Thrawn, because you are going to be playing a longer game. So you are most likely going to get, if the game's going well for you, you will get to that 8 resource part of the game, right? And this thing, whether it be 1 and then you drop another one the next turn, this thing can save you in many ways. So just think about it in this way, that I'm probably going to drop down Regional Governor down to 2, and I'm probably going to put AT-AT suppressor to 3 just because it is very good, and you'll probably see it in my demo because it has saved me multiple times. But that's going to do it for the ground units. Again, you will understand why I only play 7 ground units in this deck, but we're going to go into the space units, and as you can see, we play a ton of those. So we play the Outer Rim Headhunter. Now it has raid 1, so it gets, when it attacks, it does do 2 damage, which is pretty good. It is a 2 cost, so it's low cost. And on attack, if you control a leader unit, you may exhaust a non-leader unit. This is good in that control-y game where if you see a threat on the opponent's side and you have Thrawn out and you have this out, attack with this as soon as possible and suspend whatever it is you want to suspend. And then you can attack with Thrawn after the fact and suspend something else. But this guarantees any non-leader card gets suspended. So you can suspend any threat. If someone's putting experience tokens on something and you need to get that thing suspended as quickly as possible, exhausted, you go ahead and do so and attack when you have Thrawn out. Very good card. We have the Pirated Starfighter. Now, this is good in for multiple reasons. Now, understand, it is raid 1, so it does get that boost on attack. When played, return a friendly non-leader unit to the owner's hand. Now, it does not say may, so if you do play this on your first turn, you will just be returning it back to your hand. Keep that in mind. This is not a turn 1 unit. Even though it has 2 costs, it will be bounced back to your hand. So keep that in mind. But with that being said, you can also use this in ways to protect your units that have taken damage, put them back into your hand. You can go ahead and maybe bounce back your Regional Governor, and you don't want to stop them from using that 1 card you just said before. You want to do a new card that you see that they now have in their hand that's more of a threat. Go ahead, bounce it back to your hand, drop it down again. You can say that new card. There's some cool combos you can do with this card, and I usually use it as something to bring back one of my space units that have taken a heavy damage but haven't been defeated, so I can try to keep them on the board as long as possible, right? But again, do not play this on your first turn. You will be heavily disappointed because it's not a May effect, so it will bounce back to your hand. Just keep that in mind. We have the Cartel Spacer. Now, this is really good. If you control another cunning unit, exhaust an enemy unit that costs 4 or less. More control, more exhausting of your opponent's cards. Especially early game, this card is probably really annoying for your opponent because you're suspending things a lot of the time. So it's a very good card for this deck. As you see, our Outer Rim Headhunter and our Cartel Spacer are like our main exhausting space units. So those are really good. I play 3 for the 7th Fleet Defender, mainly because it comes in shield. It'll stay on the board a little bit longer, and it does do 3 damage. If I do need to use that shield to kind of clear out some space, I'll do so. Or I'll just keep attacking the base with it, and it is protected for a turn because it has shield. So keep that in mind. It's a very good card. It's just something that comes in shield, and it can stay on the board a little bit longer than most low-costing space units. So now we have our gunship here. It is very good. Now, the reason I play this at 3, this is a good way for me to kind of control the ground area from space. When it attacks a ground unit, that defender gets -2, -0. So you're able to take more hits. So you're able to take out low costing weakened ground units with this unit from space. So the reason I play it at 3, because I don't play many ground units, so this is a good way to still be able to attack those ground units if I need to. So, and it's only a 4 cost, so it's not too bad. So it's definitely good. It's unique because it's one of the only things can attack from space into ground. Probably is the only thing. And it's just really good with this deck for what I'm trying to do with the deck. We're playing 2 Chimeras and 2 Avengers. So let's talk about Chimera here. This is our big 8-drop. It comes in shield, which is really good. On attack, name a card. Opponent reveals their hand and then discards the card with that name. So that's really good. If they have Overwhelm Mirage, if they have like things that like equipment, things that give experience, things that will come out and do ambush damage or anything like that, or if they have their own big ships in their hand or big cost units and you don't want to see them place them on the board, this is very good for that. I play it at a 2 of because if you get 3 of these in your hand at any point, it can become a little bit cloggy. Yes, I understand that the AT suppressor is the same thing. It's an 8 cost, but being able to exhaust all the ground units, we're leaving our ground area open a lot of the times, and that's why this at 3 makes sense. The Chimera, it's not like super needed because we are going to be using a lot of space units to be attacking the opponent's base early game, so we're going to be consistently putting on pressure from space. This is just like last resort type of thing where you know they have something in their hand and you do not want them to play it, drop it down. But having 3 is just a little bit excessive in my opinion, so I have it at 2. And the final space unit we have the Avenger. When played, an opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control, defeat that unit. Very good for control because you're making your opponent make the decision of what to defeat. And then also on attack, it's the same thing. So the longer this stays up on the board, you can really wreck your opponent late game, which is what Thrawn wants to do, which is why this control deck, like you get to the Avenger point and you're just getting off a couple attacks and still alive, that's when the game changes, right? Because early on, you're going to be taking some damage. You're going to be a little bit behind, but once you get to the late game, you're still controlling your opponent's board, exhausting all their units and just defeating things. That's where Thrawn is like really shining, right? So that's the space and ground units. As you can see, for the first time, we have a ton of space units and not that many ground units because I think that that's the best way you're going to see Thrawn thrive, right? So going on from that, we go into our events. We are playing heavy events as well because, again, we're not really putting down a lot of units in this deck or focusing heavily only on putting down units because a lot of the other decks that I made, you want to put down units as quickly as possible and continuously attack the base. This one, you're sitting back and you're trying to control what's going on in the game. So we have a heavy amount of event cards. We actually have more event cards than any other type of card in the deck, but no good to me dead. It's always good to play this on things that have a ton of experience tokens or a leader unit. You don't want to get their ability off because what happens is you exhaust a unit and that unit can't ready up on the next turn. So it stays exhausted at the start of the ready up phase. So that's really good. And it's just, yeah, again, it's a low costing card for that as well. Asteroid Sanctuary, another card, you're exhausting your enemy. Then you get to give a unit with 3 or less cost a shield, which is pretty good. You can keep your Outer Rim Headhunter, your Pirate Starfighter, Cartel Spacer, and 7th Fleet Defender kind of shielded up, so you can kind of, do some damage. You can also use that in your Regional Governor if you have it in late game and you want to kind of protect it for a turn and make it so your opponent has to attack it twice to take it out. You can go ahead and give that a shield. So those are your targets with that. But again, the main reason you have that in the deck is it's another card that exhausts a unit on your opponent's side. Power of the Dark Side. Now I have this at 3 because it is a 3 cost. Opponent chooses a unit, they defeat the unit, right? But your opponent gets to choose. So if they have a ton of units, this is not as good, but early game, this is really strong because they're not going to have that many units, especially if you get initiative off the first turn and you have this in your hand and you're like, oh, I have a space unit. I can go ahead and drop this, make it so I'm not taking any damage no matter what. If you don't want to use Thrawn's ability to exhaust, or if you don't get revealed a high enough cost to exhaust that unit, you can go ahead and drop this down. It forces your opponent to get set back a turn, and you're able to get an attack on the base and kind of go from there. But the reason I have it is because it is the lowest of the 3 cards I'm going to be going over in terms of getting rid of an opponent's unit. It's the lowest cost, and you can defeat anything. Like if you have only a 7 cost, like Darth Vader, right? You have a 7 cost Darth Vader. It can become a problem because they have to defeat it. Like it doesn't say a non-leader unit, they just have to decide. So if they only have their leader unit on the board, you can use this and defeat their leader unit. So it's just very good. It's also really cheap and works with what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to play a lot of these low costing exhausting cards as well as Thrawn's ability to be able to make it later into the game and kind of control the board, right? We have Outmaneuver. This is one of the main cards, is why I'm running heavy space. Again, a lot of your opponents are going to be heavy on the ground units, and this is why you play this. You suspend the ground units. You don't have to worry about it because all your space units are still up and ready and running, which is the same reason why AT Suppressor is really good, because it's suspending all the ground units. And so Outmaneuver and AT Suppressor are your big late game things, because there are points when I had opponents with like 4, 5, 6 ground units, but I continuously exhausted all those units before they can even attack. I'm going to grab initiative quicker than my opponent if I see that he's flooding up the ground units, making sure that they just can't attack. You know what I mean? So that's really good. I play 2 waylays. It's a good way to slow down your opponent if they do get out something kind of scary. If they put a bunch of experience tokens on a unit and you're kind of like, okay, we need to get rid of that, you can bounce it back to the opponent's hand. They lose all the experience tokens. They can put down that unit, but it won't be as scary as it was. I just think Waylay at 2 is pretty good. I play Takedown at 2 as well. Defeat a unit 5 or less HP. It's really good against decks that, there are a few, like Sabine has 5 HP. Regular unit Boba Fett has 5 HP. There's a few other units that are kind of annoying that could potentially have 5 HP or less, or even if you do a couple damage to a unit and then finish it off with this, it's really good. So Takedown's pretty solid. I have it at 2 though, not 3. I have Search Your Feelings at 3, mainly because there are times in the game where you need a certain card in this deck, so you can play this and get that card for next turn, basically outmaneuver. Or if it's late game and you need an AT suppressor, which is why I'm also going to be putting it at 3. Because if you want to put down a suppressor into your resources early, you can try to use this to get it late game. Outmaneuver is very good to get with it as well. It's just a good way to make sure that you can suspend as many units as possible if the time comes, because again, it can get very scary using this deck. But yeah, Search Your Feelings is very good because you get to search out, obviously, what you want and what you need. And then the final event we play 2 Vanquish. Just defeat a non-leader unit. It's good. It can be as strong as possible. It can have a ton of experience. It can have some shields. It just gets defeated. Does not matter. Use this. Gets rid of that right away. So as you can see, these events, very controlly. They're all using to either defeat, return to the person's hand, or exhaust your enemy units. And then obviously Search Your Feelings is like really the only other thing you're trying to do, but it gives you the card that you're looking for, which is very good. We play 3 of 1 upgrade. That's Entrenched. And the only reason I'm doing that is because, again, we're in space and all my opponent's units are most likely going to be in ground for the most part. And I'm going to entrench those things. I love entrenching other people's leader units and just leaving them there to sit. That's always a lot of fun. But there was a game I was playing up against a Command Boba Fett deck, and I entrenched regular unit Boba Fett and leader Boba Fett, so they were just chilling there and they couldn't attack me. This is a very good card, a very fun card, because most people might think, oh, you want to play it to kind of make it so you can clear out the board, make your guy a little bit stronger. But no, you're just using it in this deck as a way to stop your opponent from attacking your base, right? They might think, oh my god, you're powering me up. No, we're just making it so you can't hurt us. And that's because we're going to be fighting you from space. You on the ground, don't attack our base. Get away from us. That's pretty much how we're kind of thinking about it with this deck. But again, as you can see here, we are a space-centric deck, control-centric. We're trying to exhaust, defeat as many units as possible. It is a deck that might annoy your opponents, but you'll have a ton of fun playing the deck. It does have a little bit more of a steeper curve to learn, I think. You have to really think out your turns and how you go about playing the deck. But again, it is a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. And again, Thrawn, very well done Fantasy Flight with this character. One step ahead of everyone. You get that hand knowledge, which Thrawn knows. He's so smart. And it's just, I think they did a great job with this character, and it's a ton of fun. So before we get into the demo and kind of talk about more about Thrawn, we are going to go ahead and talk about cards that you could potentially add into the deck. If you wanted to, you could put it in Inferno 4 when played or defeated. You look at the top card of your deck and you can put any number of them to the bottom. This kind of gives you that potential to, because you're going to see the top card of your hand, your deck anyway with Thrawn. If you don't want that card early, you can kind of throw it to the bottom because you might be looking for something else, especially even late game as well. If you're looking for a certain card and it's not on top coming, you can go ahead and cycle out. This is a card you should probably think about putting in. I decided to go a different route, but definitely a good card to think about. Moving on. There are the Distant Patroller. You can go ahead and give shields to your Vigilant units. The thing is that I'm not really playing that many Vigilant units. It's really just the Avenger, the Regional Governor, Count Dooku, and the AT-AT. So I just figured that it wasn't good. But if you are deciding to go with more Vigilance units, if you're going to be playing Vigilant Grand Admiral Thrawn, then this is a card you might want to decide to use because it will keep your Vigilant units on the board a little bit longer. The System Patrol Craft is a Sentinel in space, so if your opponent does happen to have a decent amount of space units and they're kind of destroying your space units, that could become a problem. So the Sentinel in space is a potential addition to this deck. Probably going to be a sideboard for sure, because you can kind of add it in if you see that your opponent does have a ton of space units. It is definitely a good add if that's the case. So I tend to kind of keep it on the side just in case. Repair is always good. Just healing up damage from your units or your base, making so you can survive a little bit longer. Pretty good. And Moment of Peace, if you want to add those shields to your units. I did think about that. I just didn't have room. I like to try to keep my decks at 50. So I kind of went with what I went with here. And again, we will showcase it so you'll see why I did what I did. You could potentially add more ground units if you would like. I just chose not to. Like, if you want to add Bosk because you are playing a ton of events in this deck, that could be a pretty good add there. If you want to add in Bib Fortuna to make your events cost less, that is another option as well. Again, a ground unit, so I really just didn't think that it fit what I was trying to do. But those are definitely two things that you can definitely add. And Bounty Hunter's Crew, it has Ambush, which is pretty good, but the main reason why you're going to be playing it is when played, you may return an event from a discard pile to the owner's hand. It's probably going to be an event from your hand, going back from your discard pile to your hand, obviously, right? But it gives you an opportunity to get outmaneuver back. No Good to Me Dead, which are key cards. I just didn't add it into the deck. People might think I'm crazy for that, but you'll kind of see what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I could easily drop a couple cards and add a couple of these in as like, hey, late game, I need another outmaneuver. Drop this down and get it back and kind of go for that. But I think what I've been doing has been working pretty good. It's just, again, it's definitely a card that I have thought about adding in multiple times. So definitely keep that in consideration. Disarm is not bad because you can weaken your opponent's attacking capabilities, so you don't have to worry about them attacking to your base. I just didn't really want to add it. Shoot first, always a good one, so you can take out other people's units if you want to take out those space units and not take damage. Definitely good. Shoot first is always good. Sneak attack is fun. You can play a card from your hand at 3 less cost, but it does get defeated at the end of the turn. Now, this plus Pirated Starfighter is a sick combo, right? So you can go ahead and you can play this, and then get out that unit, and it doesn't cut. It comes out readied, so it's really good, right? So if you want to go ahead and you have the resources to do this, right? This is just you have to have 10 resources. I mean, you don't have to have 10 resources. You have to have 9 resources, I believe. But you can go ahead and you can drop this down for 2, play an AT suppressor for 5, so that'll make it a 7. And then if you have 9 resources, you can then attack into your it comes out ready, but it just exhausts all ground units, right? And then you pop it back to your hand with Pirated Starfighter, and then you get to play it again next turn. Because it doesn't get defeated, it just comes back to your hand. Playing Pirated Starfighter with conjunction with Sneak Attack is a very good combo if you don't want to actually defeat that unit. You just want to be able to get the attack out there, get it back to your hand as soon as possible. This is a very good combo. I just didn't add it in. I have thought heavily about it. I did use it a couple times. I just chose to kind of go a different route. But it is definitely a fun little combo. Maybe with different cunning decks, it would work extremely well. With this one and what I was trying to do, it didn't work as well as I wanted it to, so I didn't add it. But just keep that in mind. Pirated Starfighter and Sneak Attack, a great combination for sure. Another card you can kind of think about adding is Viper Probe Droid, because you get to look at your opponent's hand. So if any point of the match you do forget what is in your opponent's hand or what they have drawn, just in case for regional governor or chimera, you can go ahead and drop this down. It's like, oh yeah, he has that, let's do this and attack with chimera and make it so that card gets discarded, right? It's just another way for you to go ahead and think about go ahead and get reminded what is in your opponent's hand. I just decided not to go and use it because I felt like I was oftentimes putting it in my resources because I was trying to just exhaust things quicker than I was trying to do anything with that. But yeah, those are the cards that I think you can kind of think about adding into the deck to make a little bit of upgrades. And again, there are other cards you can add, take out from what my list is, but this is just kind of what works for me. It might not work for you because it might not be your playstyle, but this is what I'm rocking with. This is what I'm having the most fun with. The one change, again, I would probably make is get AT suppressor up to 3 and maybe drop down regional governor to 2, because regional governor does get targeted down pretty easily in the ground and you don't really have anything to protect it because you're playing a lot of space units. So, but again, that's what could potentially work within the deck. Let's talk about Thrawn a little bit more. The issues with Thrawn is that obviously he is slow. If you don't get any of those things to kind of exhaust your opponent's stuff, you have a hard time kind of keeping them at bay. You have to really use the ability and you have to really think about what your next turn is going to be. Thrawn is one of those characters that you do have to think a lot about when playing, but it is extremely fun. And if you do get to that point where you stabilize and get to the point where your opponent has like no cards in their hand and they're playing with 3 cards at the start of their turn or in their hand, or 2 cards, then you can really take advantage of that, because you just kind of need a few units in space and kind of go on your merry way and exhaust and use Thrawn's ability to slow down your opponent. So it is a lot of fun. Just a lot of thinking goes into using this card and this leader. If you guys like the deck list, I will be putting this deck list in the description. Last time, for some reason, it took out a couple cards. If we have 48, even though on the website it said I had 52 cards in the deck, and that would be including the leader and the base, which is kind of weird. I do apologize for that. I made sure that this was 50. And so we are good here. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and hop over to Force Table now to showcase the deck, and we'll kind of talk about why I like this deck a lot during the match, and explain what my thought process is when playing this deck is. So I'll see you over in Force Table. All right, guys, we are here on Force Table. You're going to see Thrawn go up against probably one of the better decks in the game right now. Aggression Sabine, very scary, very good, but we're going to try to make do with what we got. We are not going to take the mulligan, honestly, and I'm going to put the Chimera and Count Dooku down. I'm going to keep the AT suppressor on the board, mainly because I got another one in my hand, and I don't think I want to put these down, because if we do manage to get to 8 resources, he has open fire, which is actually really bad for us. But we're going to put down, I know we're not going to be able to get the ability to suspend, but we just need to put down units and try to keep up with the damage output of Sabine. So the good thing is that I have initiative, so I will be able to, I think I am actually going to have to put down one of the suppressors, because this is just too good to have in my hand. It just gives me more pressure in space. I am going to play Power of the Dark Side. He has aggression, but Power of the Dark Side, we're going to get rid of Wolf. Plays that for 1, and this is where it kind of gets kind of scary, because now he's going to have a lot of units on the board. He does have Keep Fighting. He is going to get Raid 2. He is going to still be able to attack me this turn. I just have to take it, and I'm going to grab initiative. He is going to do 1, and then he's going to do another 2 to me. But we are kind of keeping up with the damage output of the Sabine deck at the moment. We're still 5 ahead, and this is actually really good. I'm actually thinking about putting this down. When Sabine comes out, that's what I'm saving a trench for. But I am just going to go ahead and 4 cost or less. Do I think taking 2 damage? Well, whatever. We'll save the 2 damage. We'll suspend that. We'll exhaust it. Sabine does come out. We will entrench Sabine. He does aggression, takes that out, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. He then readies it up anyway. This is why Sabine aggression is very difficult to handle. The good thing is next turn I can kind of play this out and kind of go that route, but I am just going to grab the initiative. We are going to take another 2 damage, and now we are falling behind in terms of the amount of damage we've done compared to Sabine, but it's something that we kind of have to work with here. I do think a pirated starship here, a starfighter, is actually pretty good. Mainly because I can play this and return this to my hand and suspend something else. I'm not going to have Thrawn out for a little bit. So I think that's the best way to do this. We have Entrench coming again next turn. Very good. And I think first things first. Actually, first things first, we're going to do this. We're going to use Thrawn's actual ability. I'm going to save this play for next turn, I think. We're going to show off what they have, and we're going to exhaust the Cantina. We take 4 damage over there. That's kind of upsetting because that whole plan just went out the window. But it does keep this on the board, so now I can go ahead and attack into their ground units. I'm going to grab the initiative, and now we have another entrenched. And we have another starfighter, and I think I'm actually just going to get rid of that one. And I actually do think my best play here... oh, I get to search for any card. Keep Fighting is kind of annoying. But the best play for me to do is Thrawn's ability, exhausting their ship over there. Okay, good. That is perfect that we waited, because now we can go ahead and take out red 2 tubes, I mean, because he's kind of annoying. Yes, we are going to take some damage over here, but we're still kind of controlling what we want to control. I still have 5 on the board here. I don't think I want to entrench anything because it's not that terrifying. I think saving this still is pretty good. I'm actually just going to grab initiative. I could entrench this. I really could. I just don't think I need to, and I think I want to keep this. Because he drops something a little bit scarier. I could entrench it, or I could vanquish it, which is pretty good. I don't think I'm going to... outmaneuver is something I can still search for. Let's go ahead and do this. I know that the whole pirate play was something I was talking about, but at this point, I think that this is kind of something we have to focus on. Right now, we go ahead and we take out... Actually, do I think he's going to attack with him? No. So I am going to try to exhaust the starship again, the A-Wing. So that's upsetting. We are going to take 3 damage. But that being said, we do get to attack their unit over here. We're not going to take any damage, but we are just going to take out that unit. Now, 2 tubes over there. I could actually just vanquish it, which I think is my play. We're just going to vanquish it because 2 tubes does get annoying. It sucks that we don't have initiative now, but we're kind of keeping... Oh, yes. We're kind of keeping them under control. Pretty good. We have another suppressor. I think I do want to kind of keep hold on to that because now we are going to be able to have that suppressor play in action here. I am probably going to wait for things to kind of fill up over here, but maybe we only need 1 suppressor because we did power up the Sabine. And we search our feelings for an outmaneuver. So we'll do this. We have Waylay on top, and he has black 1. He does play Sabine. Don't have to really worry about it. Let's go ahead and use our thing here. Exhaust their ship. We are going to just shoot down Sabine, which is perfect. Because, again, we're at that point where he has no hand now. So I'm just going to go ahead and attack into Sabine. Attacking ground unit, we're still going to take 0 damage. Sabine goes away. We don't have to worry about the suppressor because he has no ground units, really. So let's go ahead and put out you. And let's actually look for something. Let's look for the Avenger. I think that's the best case scenario. Because next time we're going to be able to play it. And I think we passed the turn. This is going pretty well. I would say, hey, Regional Governor, good card. But Sabine out there, no use. So Regional Governor goes down. Again, that's one of the reasons why I talked about why I dropped it down to 2 and had my AT suppressor at 3. We did see all 3 of them. This is just not going well for my opponent here. He does discard and draw 3 cards, and now we are in a pickle. Not necessarily, but we do get to play down our big boy here. He does choose to get rid of that. I will go ahead and attack and get rid of the Sabine. There's no reason for us to really worry about that. I will now start, because again, we stopped Sabine from being able to deal that 1 damage a turn with the attacks. So she's not a leader unit anymore, so we're not taking 1 each turn, and so it allows us to play the game that we want to play against the Sabine deck, which is why this has been going pretty well. This is pretty good. I can do that on black 1. Because I really don't want to give him the opportunity to draw 3 different cards. So I kind of want to keep that thing over there. With that being said, let's go ahead. We kind of could use this. I don't really think we need the suppressor anymore. But also we do have 9. We have 9 resources. I don't think we need to play anything. Because again, suppressor is only going to come in if he starts really ramping up his ground units, which he could start doing, which he's starting to do. With that being said, let's go ahead and just stop him from doing anything. He has keep fighting, so now he can attack with that. Attack into his base. Does he choose to get rid of the black 1? He does choose to get rid of that over there. Probably not his smartest play, but it is what it is. I don't have to worry about any damage from the insurgent, so let's go ahead and deal 3 damage to it. Also, let's get 3 damage over here as well. And I think what we do is we just play annoying. Well, no. If I give him that insurgent back into his hand, it's not the end of the world. I could actually be kind of annoying. I could entrench the insurgent, but it's going to die next turn. Let's just pass, because we're going to save these things just in case it needs to come down to it. Count Dooku could be pretty good to drop, but I don't think we really need it. Let's play this here. So we're going with the 10 resources here. We have Power of the Dark Side. He has 2. Okay. So now we have to kind of decide here. He has 2 tubes. Either way, we are going to take out the Partisan Insurgent, so we don't have to worry about any damage coming to us. Wolf. We do not have to worry about it. We attack into his base. Easy. With 8 damage. I didn't realize he only had 7, so I could have just not killed his Partisan Insurgent and just done that. But either way, as you can see here, the deck can compete against a Sabine deck. You have to get a little bit lucky, and you have to play your turns and your hand kind of, I wouldn't say perfect, but you really have to think about everything you do. But this is like one of the perfect games. So like not every game is going to go as well as this, but this showcases what Thrawn can really do. You're using a lot of your cards. Entrench against Sabine When Sabine comes out, if you entrench Sabine and you don't have any ground units, she is eradicated from the match. You don't have to worry about her. Her big stick of what makes her so fast and powerful is dealing that extra damage to your base as a leader unit, and then as a leader unit being able to deal that additional damage on attack each time. Thrawn with entrench, because I focus in space, and again you saw the power of our gunship here being able to take out those ground units, because a lot of them are weak ground units. It's just a really fun deck to play, especially against Sabine. If you understand your matchups, you can really take advantage of it. But again, a lot of fun. Try it out. Link to the deck list will be down in the description below. If you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a subscription. Please, yep, that's exactly what I should have said. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you are enjoying it. Again, greatly appreciative of all your help and all your support. We have reached 800 subscribers, and the game isn't even out yet. We're going to do a ton of stuff, ton of giveaways and all that stuff when the game is not announced, but released. 2 weeks, we have the pre-release, and then March 8th was just around the corner. But super excited. Again, thank you for all the support on the videos, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.